Greetings, this is the Crunchy Fair, and today I decided to do something new. So, if you want to know, the Albedo one will be continued. I'm just coming up with ideas for the rest of the story. So, this one will be a bit different. Today I'll be doing what if female deku was Apollyon. Now, in case you don't know, Apollyon is a warlord from the game For Honor, and she led a Knight Legion known as Blackstone Legion. So, just to clarify some things, her name will be Izumi. So, and she will be All Might's younger sister, and she'll be about 10 to 15 years younger than All Might. I'm going to say 15, just to be safe. No, 10. Alright, so our story starts off with Izumi's birth to Mr. and Mrs. Yagi. And as she's born, she's then given her name by her mother of Izumi. So, as we skip forward about 4 years, Izumi is taken to the quirk doctor and is told that she isn't necessarily quirkless, but she does have a dormant quirk that only activates under specific circumstances. And the name of her quirk is going to be Warmongerer, which, if you want a basic description, essentially makes her pretty smart in like the battle tactics category and intelligence-wise. So Izumi is basically bullied all of her life until one day when All Might is at UA and is during Nanashimura's final fight with All For One, where Izumi and Toshinori's parents are killed during a battle with All For One. This eventually causes Izumi's quirk to activate, and this also allows her to summon catapults as well. As one fires right at All For One, hitting him, but before All For One notices who it was, she basically ran away into the wilderness. And after the battle, All Might Toshinori returned to the area to try and find his younger sister, but he couldn't find her. And during this time, she's been fighting to survive, including stealing as well. And eventually, she finds a sword, and once she touches it, she then goes into a sort of mindscape where we see we see Apollyon standing right behind her, and Izumi is afraid and asks who she is, and Apollyon responds by stating that her name is Apollyon, and that as she points to Izumi, and you are my reincarnation. Now, as Izumi's trying to put this all together, Apollyon says, "I will help you survive in any way that I can, and help you grow stronger." So, we'll fast forward, and essentially Apollyon teaches Izumi how to survive, and how to use her sword. And eventually, she then ends up finding the ruins of the Blackstone Legion's castle, where she then finds the obsidian table in the middle of the room, along with Apollyon's armor. So she stays in the castle a couple of years, so we'll skip forward till when she's about 16, and she ends up donning the armor. So this is about this is like a couple months after All Might left for the US, and Apollyon and Izumi has been building the Blackstone Legion back up with Apollyon's help. And while they're doing that, they have encountered a few villains, but Izumi's been able to handle them due to her training with the sword and the fact that the villains were frightened whenever she walked onto the battlefield due to the immense amount of pressure emitted by her killing intent. So while they were rebuilding the Blackstone Legion, they come across a couple people who are willing to join the Blackstone Legion. And since I can't come up with any names, we're just going to go with characters who are already a part of the Blackstone Legion, with the Warden, Mercy, Holden Cross, and Stone joining in to the Blackstone Legion. And they continue to build the Legion to the point where it becomes noticeable by some heroes and some villains, to the point where villains have begun attacking, but they couldn't get through the walls because while they were rebuilding the Blackstone Legion, they also upgraded the defenses on the Blackstone Legion's fortress, and continued to cultivate. And some people who had escaped from the captivity of villains and who were kidnapped or left to die because their quirks were useless or they were quirkless, Apollyon found them and then brought them into the Legion's castle, where they stayed for most of their lives. So we're going to fast forward a couple of years to where after All Might's fight with Awful One, and Apollyon is about, she's 10 years younger than All Might. She'll be about 39. She'll be 38 years old, 38 to 39 years old. And in this time, somebody who had a copying quirk found somebody with a immortality quirk. The person with the copying quirk copied it, and then he also had the ability to give the copied quirk to the person, and essentially gave it to Apollyon to where she won't age from the point where she looks about 38, but but in the story she will be much older than she looks. So with this, we'll fast forward to the US to when UA is attacked at the USG, and and I'm going to change it a bit to where, alright, so All Might's successor is going to be Mirio in this, so nobody in Class 1A is going to have One for All. And as All Might is about to be defeated by the Nomu, the Nomu stopped moving for some reason. As All Might then notices an arrow just right below where the skull connects to the spine, which completely severs the Nomu's spine, and it'll take it a while to heal from it. As All Might notices a bunch of people wearing orange and black with the sort of like half of a skull. One half is a skull, the other half is a helmet that appears to be a knight with a sword in between it. As we see Izumi, now known as Apollyon, walking down the stairwell into the USG. As she notices Toshinori, but she doesn't really say or show anything, as she doesn't want to reveal herself. As the Nomu regenerates, as Shigaraki tells the Nomu, points towards her and tells it to kill her. As the Nomu goes to attack her, she sort of evades all the Nomu's attacks while simultaneously taking a couple hits getting a couple hits in on the Nomu, until finally she finishes the Nomu off with a decapitation with the sword that you see right here, and then stabbing the Nomu right in the head before it can regenerate. Now Shigaraki begins to start scratching at his neck, calling Apollyon a cheetah, as he then goes to charge at her to try to disintegrate her, as she moves to the side of Shigaraki and cuts off one of his hands, and Shigaraki yells out in pain as just before Shigaraki and Kurogiri could leave, the pro heroes arrive. Noticing that Shigaraki and Kurogiri are escaping, one of Shigaraki's severed hands is on the ground, and the Nomu without its head and dead. As the pros try to stop her, Holden Cross and Stone come in to prevent them from attacking Apollyon. As she points to All Might, stating that you have gotten weaker since the last time I saw you. As a portal opens up behind them, as they had somebody with them who had a portal quirk. As both Holden, Cross, and Stone walk through them, Apollyon turns around and says, "I will see you later, dear brother," directing towards All Might, as she then walks through the portal, leaving. And All Might is just left in a state of just pure shock, knowing that his sister was Apollyon, the leader of the Blackstone Legion. So, once word about this got to Nezu, Nezu wanted to arrange a meeting with Apollyon himself and All Might, and they couldn't find a way to send a message until one day, when a soldier wearing the coloration of the Blackstone Legion, including their symbol, comes to UA bearing a message from Apollyon, and it is said the soldier says that if you agree to this, you have to return it to him, in which you'll return it to Apollyon. And once they've read the letter, they notice there's a letter about a meeting. And then, once they agreed to the meeting, they then sent a letter back to Apollyon with the soldier, stating that they agreed to it. And as they were given the coordinates to the Blackstone Legion's base, they see a massive fortress with archers and cannons on every wall on the fortress. And once All Might and Nezu show that they have been invited into the fortress, they open up the gates and escort them to the throne room where Izumi is. And once they enter there, they see a woman in her late 30s, who appears to be in her late 30s, sitting on a throne with the peacekeeper Mercy and the warden by her sides as a form of protection from anybody who would try to attack her, even though she's fully capable of defending herself. And as Apollyon waves her hand and says to Warden and Mercy that you can leave, they both leave the room as the meeting between All Might, Nezu, and Apollyon begins. And Nezu presents an offer to Izumi, asking her if she could become one of the combat instructors at UA. So, Izumi would then think over about this, and then agree, as she knows that if she trains these future heroes, there's going to be less villain attacks on her. But while she's training them, the villain attacks will be heightened on her base specifically, but not that many villains know where her base is. So she agrees to become a combat instructor at UA. And that is where I'll leave it off. If you enjoyed this, remember to like, and I will possibly make a part 2 to this. So see you guys later.